Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got another review on another Crimson Steel premium tank, and that is the Minotaur KV5. Now this is a tank that I'm not a fan of generally, and is it worth, before I get into the stats and stuff, you'll get to decide. You'll see the gameplay, you'll see what its play is like, you'll see the stats of it, you make your own mind up on this, okay? But so don't let my personal bias go against this, but I don't like this tank. And that is because it's a preferential tank, which gets some upgrades, don't get me wrong, gets some upgrades, which means it can fight back against bottom tier, when it's bottom tier and stuff, but what it gets is just not enough, and it really kind of struggles. So, without further ado, let's get into the stats again. So it's got 1200 horsepower, and it's a big, heavy tank. It's a very, very heavy. It's a KV5 after all, so it's very good at ramming, and that is great. The ramming ability of it is beautiful. So it's got 1200 horsepower. Again, like I said, that means it's good at that. It's got 5.36 reload on this 107mm gun, which the reload is not that great, but it's not bad. It's in an average position. 227 standard pen and 289 premium pen. Now that is good. The standard pen is solid. It can deal with pretty much everything at its own tier, and a lot at tier 9. Tier 10 it struggles with 227, so the 289 pen is a high level pen, so that is good in itself. 62 HE pen is not bad. It's about standard really. So it's got 2.9 aim time and 0.4 accuracy. Now the aim time and the accuracy kind of are not that great, because it means you've got to sit around a little bit more to aim, and if you don't fully aim it, you're even more likely to miss shots, because 0.4 accuracy isn't good. And I'm not a big fan of the gun handling generally. It just doesn't feel too great. So it's got 18 traverse speed degrees a second. Yeah, it's really slow at turning. And when a light tank gets round it, oh goodness gracious, it's not good. And that gets worse with the turret traverse at 20 degrees as well. It really struggles if it gets singled out and stuck it like, oh god, even when you get to ground, if you get to boggy ground, it's even worse. You can't turn, you can't get anywhere very quick. If you get circled, you're done for. So one of the reasons I'm not a fan of this thing is because of how big it is. Look at how tall that turret is, okay? It's got 190 frontal turret armor and 180 on the side and rear. And it's big, it's flat. For the most part, it's flat there. It's angled probably slightly upwards, so it's probably more like 200 to 210 effective. But as soon as you see in tier 9s and 10s, they legitimately destroy this turret. The only thing this armor is good for is side scraping. It's an absolute monster at side scraping. It's brilliant at it, but that's its only strength. That, and probably I'd say auto aim people that just literally auto aim and fire at you. But if they're at tier 10 firing premium, if they're at tier 9 firing premium, or even at tier 8, if they're tier 8s firing premium at you, they will pen the turret front, as well as the droid. The droid is more well armoured than the Gorinic or the KV5 standard. Let's have a look at the KV5 in terms of its armour as well, if we can find it on the filter. Here we go. So it literally gets 10mm of a buff on its turret compared to the Gorinic. That's it. It's that 10mm of armor. 10mm of armor is just not. It's not worth at all. It's not worth losing the pref. It's pretty horrible, to be fair. 350 meters view range. Again, it's blind as a bat, but it's Russian heavy. Most of the Russian heavies are blind as bats, which, yeah, is pretty understandable. So let's have a look here. 11.93 horsepower per ton. It's not the worst for a heavy tank, but it's, like I say, it's not great. 40 kilometers an hour top speed is good for the ramming, so if you're going downhill, this thing is great for it. But you won't reach that 40 kilometers an hour top speed all that often. It's not. It's pretty horrible. It's not very mobile. It's supposed to rely on its armor, but the armor isn't too good for that either. So here we go. 3.52 firing accuracy on the move. It's terrible, which means you're barely ever going to hit anything while you're moving. Which again, it's Russian heavy, so I suppose in a way, yeah, okay. Accuracy on rotating the turret 1.44. That's really good. That means if you just sit stationary and you just turn the turret, your accuracy or bloom is not going to be absolutely huge. So you're not going to have to sit there aiming more and more if you just turn the turret slightly. It's great. 22 degrees of elevation, which means you're never going to have a problem looking up, which is good. 7 degrees of gun depression, which isn't too bad for a Russian heavy, but it's a very tall tank. So whereas 7 degrees on something that might be smaller isn't actually, it's pretty good. On this, because it's so tall, sometimes it's not. It feels like you've got 5. It's just the way it is, unfortunately. So 18 degrees a second on the rotation speed. Like I say, it's very slow. Very slow. It can't keep up with things. 20 degrees on a second on the turret, which again, struggle to keep up with things as they zoom past. Shell velocity, 1,043 meters a second. That's good. 1,300 meters a second on the APCR. Again, that's brilliant. It is the KV4's gun, and it does get that shell velocity, and it's that sort of performance on the gun isn't too bad. So let's have a look at the armor. So this is the front of the turret. Look, 190 millimeters. That's the thing as well. That cupola on top. If you want to take these things down, right, that cupola. If you've got about 200 millimeters of pen, that cupola on top is a massive weak spot. That is so easy to hit, and especially if the turret's slightly turned away, it's only 150 millimeters. It's very, very easy to hit. It's very easy to take down. So that droid on the front is also a weak spot, but again, it's not. Let's have a look. It's got what, 180 millimeters on the droid. I don't know if they changed that. I feel like that was one of the things that got buffed from this KV5. Yes. So it got 40 millimeters buffed armor on its droid. So the droid is not as much of a weak spot on the Minotaur as it is on the KV5. So it's not. So when you see a KV5, you look at that droid and you see a guaranteed pen, right? Pretty much all the time. You see it and you think, yeah, we can pen that. You're not going to pen this droid as easily. You're actually just as likely to go through the droid as you are to go through the turret front or the cupola, really. The upper plate, the upper plate and the lower plate, they're maybe 180 millimeters, but they're angled quite nicely, so they are pretty good. But this armor of 190 and 180 on the front is why it's terrible, because tier 8s, tier 9s, tier 10s all have like 230 plus millimeters of penetration on standard or premium rounds, and that means that this tank just gets destroyed by same tier tanks as well. And there's tier 7s. There's tier 7s that can destroy this thing quite easily in the front as well. You think of Tiger 1, sure, you can pen the Tiger 1 very easily, but if he's loaded premium or even standard will probably go through 50-50, but if he's loaded premium, he's penning you every time. It's a tier 7 heavy, which you should be dominating, but they won't. It won't. And like I said, it's the unreliable armor on it that lets it down for saying how slow it is. It's the KV5. The KV5 is designed to be reliant on its armor, but have like a weak spot like the droid, and it just doesn't have the armor to compete at tier 10. So overall, it's a tank that I'd probably give a miss. I wouldn't probably. It's not worth getting it. The KV5 is memes. The actual Goranich is definitely memes, and if you get the chance to get this on Halloween mode, get it, because it's a meme tank and it's pretty nice for that. And it's got pref, which you can't moan at. Whereas the Minotaur does not have pref, so it's kind of a letdown. The equipment wise, I've rammer, vert stabs, optics because it's blind as a bat and it really needs every little bit of help it can get to help that view range and be able to see anything that's in front of you. You might be thinking vents would be good to try and improve the performance of everything else on the tank, but I'd say me personally, optics is probably the way to go, so you can at least have a chance of spotting things that spot you, because it will get frustrating otherwise if you get certain maps and you just can't see anything. But yeah, like I say, overall it's a brilliant side scraper, but not much good at anything else. So anyway, let's go see what it's like in the replays, and from seeing the gameplay you can make your own mind up. I'll see you there, guys. So here we are, Kunas, and we're in the Minotaur. It's good matchmaking, which is where this tank shines really, because when it faces those tier 9s and tier 10s, the armour on this thing really struggles to hold up. Like I say, if you get it in a good position to side scrape, it can be good, and you can bounce ridiculous amounts of shells. But when you're coming against things that have got like 200 to 240 pen, they really do butt this thing up. And if you get caught out in the open, it really can get wrecked quite quickly. Obviously, you can pull off some great ricochets. Its armour is pretty good for a tier 8 heavy, but it's just generally there's too many areas where it can really get done over. And there's not every map caters to the way that this tank wants to be. So obviously, like side scraping towns, that's where this thing, town brawls is where this tank is good at. But not every map has a town. Like Kunas here has a town, but it's not often that teams actually go to it. You don't often get like tons of tanks go there, so you can't quite get good brawls off. So I'm going to this position up ahead, like where this building is, because I know I can get there and side scrape off of it. I'm just trying to see if I can get a shot first at these guys, like this stockade here. We'll get a nice shot into his side. And I'm thinking, okay, he might turn around and come shoot me now, so I want to back up and get into a position to hug the wall in front of me. The T69, if he's firing AP, I'm pretty confident he won't pen me. For which at the minute he's not really doing anything. He's tracking me, but he's not penning me. And then he hits the cupola and pens it, because he actually aims up for it. But he's a bit of a nuisance. He's there. This target 2 here is easy track and pen for us. Like I say, we're side scraping now, so we're in prime territory for the KV5, and it's the perfect place for it to put its armour to use. I was quite unlucky not to retrack that target 2 when I came across, well, pulled back for him, but still got the pen anyway, which is nice. We wanted to hit the cheeks of the T69 because hitting him on the upper part is a place where I'm probably not going to pen him, and he's just sitting there, so I'm quite happily going to aim up and pop a shot into his turret. And he's again trying to pen me, but he's bouncing. He's going to get finished off by that Patriot, and we're going to now move up. And we've blocked 1500 from side scraping that position. It's quite nice. But if you're going for block damage and stuff like that, not always. Well, basically, people don't always just keep shooting at you when you're in that situation. So here we've got a Carnarvon, and I'm thinking, okay, this could get awkward. So I'm just angling up like this, trying to bait him to shoot the side a little bit more. If he works it out, he'll just shoot my droid. So like you see, I'm angling up quite nicely, and you don't want to be sitting like face on to people. You want to just keep it so that you're nice and angled at well, look, I could be straight on, but I'm probably angled at, I don't know how many degrees that'd be. What, 50 degrees? Something like that, I don't know. And, I'm not just straight on. And that way, he's actually just not penning me. And finally, he's decided to shoot me in the face. And he's penned just below the turret, probably. Or just where the droids are, but like in the turret. Because the turret face isn't even that good. That's the problem with it. And it's kind of like the KV4 in that way. The KV4 is also not very good in its turret front. And things quite easily pen it straight through it. And that is a big problem with him when they're big and fat like this is. So we get a nice shot into that Samoa. He's clearly emptied his clip, and we are going to try and put the pressure onto him. Bounce the Canonin back there, which is dangerous because he's got the high pen gun, that can pen me. But we want to get rid of this Samoa. Now the Samua turret is a pretty solid thing, so that's why I'm going for this cupola here. T28 Pro unfortunately pots a nasty shot into us. Again, he's got the pen to go through us every single day. And that Kanonen Panzer is firing heaters, and luckily he's bouncing because he's got a high heat pen. But again, look, that T28 Pro just laughs at us. He's got like 248 pen. He will just laugh at our tank all the time. And obviously the cupola isn't that good anyway, so and where we are big and tall, and he'll hit it. We get lucky that we bounce his, because he's firing APCR as well, which means he's got 290 pen now, which is overkill for against us. But yeah, it means that we're not really safe there if he keeps trying to poke us like that. So I just decided, you know what, I've got to move up, got to get away from that position, because if he decides to keep focusing on me, he'll hurt me. And I'm trying to get a shot into the back of the Kanonen, but it unfortunately hits the floor, which is the bad accuracy of this thing, 0.4. It's not always going to hit those slim shots, but it is a Russian heavy tank after all. I loaded the APCR as well to help with the turret of the T28 Pro, because he was firing prem at me, and he will just butt me up, and I wanted to, well, it's not always the guaranteed shot through the T28 Pro turret with 220 pen, so with the 289 that this APCR gets is what I wanted to use. But we never got another shot at him after he pulled back. But now these two guys will be distracted by the guys in front of them. We're going to come up behind them. We're going to hopefully get a nice shot into the back and finish this game off with a decent result. I mean, we've blocked 3.7k damage at the minute, which is good. That's good for this tank. I should have aimed that shot away back. I should have just aimed that shot. That auto aim was lazy, and that meant that we ricocheted off a silly angle. But we come round and we shut him down. And I'm slightly worried about this Kanonen Panzer, because he does have good heat rounds, right? And he does reload really quickly. I'm kind of lucky he bounces there, and then the SU-130 shuts him down. He could have quite easily killed me then. It was one of those things of coming over and going, I want to ram you, and then went, oh, wait, actually he has a really good rate of fire. Oh no. So in the end of that game, we get high caliber, ace tanker, steel wall, sniper medal, 4.7k damage, nearly 4k blocked, 144,000 credits made, which is really good. Obviously these tanks have got 75% credit bonuses, which means that you just make ridiculous amounts of credits with them. 1900 odd base as well, which is also nice. Like I say, I mean, generally these tanks make so much money. Like, because of the 75% bonus, you do make a great amount more than any other premium tanks do. But I do feel that, like the Minotaur, if I had a game like that in the Ragnarok, I'd definitely be looking at 200k plus easy, right? And that's obviously, I'm running food in this, and I'm running food in the Hydra, and I run food in the Ragnarok, and the Ragnarok still pushes that 200k easy damage, well, easy silver. And I feel like you're having big games in this, in the Hydra as well, and you're getting 150k, and you sit there going, if I was playing Ragnarok, I would have made 200k for this same 5k, you know. And I feel like that's what I'm saying, and I feel like the Hydra and the Minotaur don't quite make as good of credits as the Ragnarok does. But they still make very good credits compared to a lot of the tanks at the tier in the class. So, yeah. So what we've got now, we've got Corellia Assault, which can be good and bad. And we're going to go up to this position up here, because, well, it's because I prefer this side to the other side, to be honest. It's a good side to push on Assault, because you can sort of use this rock here to get cover. You can go up on top to be aggressive and get shots at these guys as they push up. So we tried to get a shot through the side of that Santax's turret, but unfortunately we missed. He didn't really have to do anything there. And he's like, nah, you know what, I'm out. Which, him doing that gives me a little bit of confidence. Because whenever you see a tank do that, you do feel a little bit more confident in him being a bit more aggressive, right? Because you're thinking, if he ran away like that, does that mean he's not got much help? And if they've not got much help, then you're thinking, well, actually, you know what? I'll push forward then. So he damaged my fuel tanks there, and because I'm using food, I don't want my fuel tanks to stay orange because I will get set alight, especially since I'm in a Russian heavy, which, you know, they like to get set alight. And I've got a good crew. I have a good crew in this tank, right? Which is what makes me confident to use food, because that means if I do get set on fire, I will tick for less. I'll probably only be on fire for about, I'd probably say one more, as if someone with 400 alpha shot me and set me on fire, I'd probably only burn for as if they'd shot me again for 400. So with a good crew, I'm pretty confident in that, and the fact that there's also all the perks and that to try and stop engine fires and stuff like that, preventative maintenance, so on. So yeah, I run food in it. We shut down that Ferdinand quite nicely. There's a Type 4 Heavy down there, and he is actually AFK, so we've got the Prem in because we have absolutely no hope in hell of penning this guy without the Prem. We pop a shot for his cheeks, but at this range, the APCR might drop off too much, the pen, that is, and the angle, and generally the accuracy. So we are trying to pot shots into him because he's lighting everybody up at the minute, and before I want to move up any further, I want to get rid of him, and everyone else needs to get rid of him. What I probably could have done is tracked him, and I would have got a hell of a lot of tracking assists here, but we're going for the little weak, and we hit it as well in that last shot. We were going for that weak spot, which is a little like hatch. I think it's a driver's hatch, and that's only about 230, 240 mil armour. It's like another weak spot on the front of the Type 4 Heavy, and that means you can go through it quite nicely from the front, and it means you're not having to go for the cheeks all the time. Now I saw that Skoda going back for the Artie, and he was about to kill the Artie, and it was kind of like, oh, I'm sorry Artie, you're dead, mate. I'm not going to go back for that. But artillery is fair and balanced, and shut him down. And then we popped an auto-aim shot at this M41, but unfortunately that hit the floor in front of him, and we're not going to get the chance to shut him down from there unless he decides to YOLO down in front of us. I'm still looking towards where all the other guys were spotted, and then there's a name that I recognise. Hey, there's Gizmo. Hello Gizmo, I want you, son. And then that bulldog goes YOLOing off. Okay, we'll get a nice shot into Gizmo there. At this range, it's the accuracy that's going to let us down a little bit, to be honest. And Gizmo is nice and safe behind that rock. We're not going to get shots at him, and then the Inferno shuts him down. But all three tanks that are left are over in that corner. So it doesn't matter now that, well, we know where they are, and there's only 3 tanks left, so it's time to just push aggressively straight across the middle. You don't want to often push across the middle of Corellia, but when you know where they are, best bet really to do it. And we want to push this game a little bit better, because I mean we've done 3k damage. The matchmaking's pretty horrific for us, so 3k damage in this kind of matchup is exactly, well, I'm very happy with that, to be honest, especially in this tank. I was having a bad time trying to get 2 aces for this. I had another ace which is probably better than this game, quite frankly, on Pilsen, but I didn't record it like an absolute idiot. So the effort that went into that game was for naught. So here's another name we recognise as well as soon as he's popping up. It's Crazy Kino. I'm so sorry, Kino. I'm so sorry. And unfortunately, he is going to get shut down to my gun. Hey, it's probably better me than anybody else, you know. Right? Right? Yeah. So we're going to go after the Kranvagn and the Super Conqueror. They're the only two tanks left, and they're scary tanks to go after. Because I mean, they got high pen, and they're going to hurt me. Like the Kranvagn could clip me out quite easily. The Super Conqueror reloads way quicker than me, has probably better armour. But as we know, and as we've all learnt many times in the past, artillery is fair and balanced. It's fair. So yeah, the Kranvagn got balanced. He got outplayed. And now there's just this Super Conqueror left. He's wrecking this poor Inferno, who I think the Super Conqueror gets to fire twice for every time that Inferno gets to fire himself, and the Inferno's derpy as well, so he's not always going to hit the lower plate of the Super Conqueror. And unfortunately he gets shut down. But his wreck will be useful, because as you see, the Super Conqueror preempted me coming around the corner and shot the dead wreck of the Inferno. We get a nice shot into the tracks of the Super Conqueror. He's now distracted with our AMX friend, which is great for us because that means we're just going to get 3 shots. We damaged the ammo rack of the Super Conqueror while retracking him, which is nice. The AMX M454's got round him. We pop a shot into the back of the turret, and then we're basically waiting for him to die. He bounces on the AMX, and then he gets shut down by artillery. But we end that game 4 kills, 4.4k damage, and generally a nice game for this tank on very bad matchmaking, generally, for us. So 135,000 credits made, ace tanker, 4.4k damage, and as you can see, like, I got the first mark of excellence for this tank, like, way before I got the second or third ace. 2k base, 4 kills, and yeah, generally nice game for the tank. And it's not one that, it's one that does really well when it's top tier, but when it's bottom tier it really struggles. I feel like the Hydra does better than this when it's bottom tier because of how hard it hits and the better mobility and the lower profile, but yeah. So as always everybody, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review, and I'll see you next time.